Hi everybody, I wanted to talk a little bit about Zippos because they're really interesting. Now, I don't smoke, but I have been out in the wilderness and need to start a fire, even wanted to light some candles. So in front of me I have a few different inserts for Zippos, and I was going to talk about the difference between a Zippo that uses the traditional Zippo that uses fuel and these three, which are all butane related. And so there's some positives and negatives about both. The kind of key things, the two differences between these two, whether it's the butane models or the non-butane models, has to do with two things: temperature and elevation. So I live in Colorado. If you have, which gets cold, and we have really tall mountains. If you're in a place that gets cold, Alaska, Canada, Russia, or down south, near the South Pole, butane doesn't work well around 0 degrees Celsius, 32 degrees Fahrenheit, somewhere in there. And the common solution for using butane lighters is to put them in your pocket and keep them warm, which means that if it's cold, you can't leave it in your car, you can't carry it in an outside pocket, you have to keep it warm, otherwise it won't work. Also, once you get to around 10,000 feet, it's about 3,500 meters, butane doesn't work that well, and the higher you get, the worse. So if you're up at altitude and it's cold, you're really stuck. You really only have one choice, and that's your traditional lighter. And this lighter is great because it lights in all weather. You do have to fill it up, obviously. And the nice thing about it is that you can replace the flint, all the insides, and you can easily add lighter fluid to it. Now, the problem with these, the regular ones, is that the lighter fluid that they use evaporates very quickly. And so there are two places it evaporates. The one is on the bottom. And so there are two places it evaporates. The first majority of it, probably 80%, comes from the wick. And on top, there is no stopper or cover that covers the wick. So the lighter fluid evaporates into the gap there. The other way it evaporates, which is maybe 20%, is on the back side, but there is a way to fix that. So normally on Zippo lighters on the bottom, there's felt. But you can get replacements for these, some that are metal and some that are plastic. The metal ones just come in a full package, and they have O-rings and a whole bunch of really interesting things, which is actually kind of overkill. You get a package of 2 of these metal ones on like Amazon for $9, or you can get a package of 6 of these plastic ones that form a seal just by pressing them in. So that looks like this. And they're also about $9. These are little, as you can see with this one, I didn't file it, but they all have some defects in here, and so you have to press these down really hard. Sometimes you have to tap them, sometimes you have to file them. If you don't, what happens is it'll sit cockeyed in your lighter. And for that reason alone, I don't like these. They are easy to open. You can just pop it open, and it has a port to fill lighter fluid, and then it also has a spare flint holder. On the felt ones, you'll see that little hole. Some people say, well, you could just pour the lighter fluid in the hole, and you can, but that hole in the felt is meant for a spare flint. The problem with both of these is that spare flint thing just rolls around. You have to be very careful. This one's got a whole bunch of O-rings, and it's a little extra special. I sometimes can't lift this one up because I don't have very good fingernails, but it looks exactly the same. It's just metal. To replace the flint on these, you just unscrew this. It's just a screw with a big long spring and a tiny bit of flint. The flint looks like this. It's actually probably a little tinier than that. These are Zippo flints. You can buy a whole box of these for the price of this. You could buy a whole box of them on Amazon that are just not Zippo branded. And that's easy. So you can replace the flint. The flint is good for a very long time. You can do a whole bunch of tricks and everything else with these, but it lights, and it'll light under other conditions. And then if you gently blow on it, you can barely see it, but a good blow will blow it out. And that's unfortunately going to be the same with all of these, including the jet lighters and the other one I have here, which is the yellow flame. I don't have a pipe to demonstrate, but the pipe's very similar to the yellow flame. Okay, so that's these. So why would you want butane lighters if you don't qualify for cold weather or altitude? Then you can fill these up with regular butane fluid. They don't leak. The difference is with these older models, you saw me do this earlier, you light it and it stays lit until you starve it of oxygen. These, you always have to push down to keep it going. There's a problem with, so these two are here are a single and a double. I'm going to tell you why this double is bad in a second. Maybe not bad, it's just a poor design that I don't like. Your mileage may vary. There's another Zippo insert that you can get, which I don't have, but I can demonstrate it with this, which is these inserts are about $20. You can get something like this for about $9 or less. This just happens to be a Chinese thing, but it lights up and it tells you how much battery it is. It glows in the dark, and it has the four-way thing. This plasma lighter is only good for cigarettes, marginally at that. These plasma bits tend to wear out after a number of usage. The nice thing about it, it also works, I think, on the special paracord rope that has a lighter strip in it, or a lighter cord that you can buy from Zippo for wilderness survival. It's kind of good to have one of these just in case, because they are rechargeable. This particular one's USB-C, but the ones you get from Zippo are the same. It's in this configuration. You charge it up every 2 weeks, and it'll last you for as long as these plasma. See, look at that. Oh, it's because I have to do that. Okay. As long as those plasma things will run, as long as it has battery, and as long as those. So okay. So there is a problem with the single and a double jet flame Zippos. That's why there's some parts over here, because I'm going to show you how to fix it. And the problem is, sometimes coming back from the factory, brand new from the factory, on the bottom there is an adjustment, make it stronger, make it lighter, make it smaller. Sometimes that's not calibrated correctly. This one was not, and you have to actually fill these up with lighter fluid to figure out it's not working, and then with it still full of lighter fluid, there's a hack in order to make it work. So what I've done is I've unscrewed these two pieces. There's other videos from other people on YouTube, by the way, if this isn't terribly clear. Full of lighter fluid, you unscrew these pieces and you get that, and that's on this one. Now in here, you will see that there is an O-ring, and you have to be very careful with this O-ring because it pops back in again. Make sure you don't rip it off. And then underneath that O-ring, you see this bronze piece here. This will just pop right off. Sometimes it will be a little sticky and you may have to use a screwdriver. Just don't break it. But what this is, it locks, it's what controls the maximum plus or minus. If you dip in here and you pop this sucker right off, you can then take a regular flat blade screwdriver and dial this up little by little, like a quarter of a turn up, until you can get a flame, and then dial it back. That flame length, which is about the size of my pinky, is what you're after. And both of these will do this. Now you can turn it up even further, and in something like this one's a little bit bigger than it's about the same size as my pinky. That's what you're gonna do. Now the disadvantage of a single versus a double is these jet flames. They use a lot of butane. Double obviously is going to use twice as much or thereabouts than a single. Anyway, so you dial this in to where you want it and then back it off just a little bit. Sorry, you dial it up to where you want and then you advance it towards the plus side a little bit further, and then you put this ring back in, and what that does is it will lock it, so that'll be the maximum spot, and you're going to be at about 75% or so. If you do this too far, you're going to get yellow sparks and other stuff up here. Now you can't see it on the camera, but this flame goes quite a bit more past that. Okay, so what are these two good for? Well, this one obviously it's going to use a lot of propane, but it's going to be great for lighting cigars, starting fires. You can hold it in different angles. It works just fine, unlike a regular Bic or a clipper or this other one I'm going to show you in a minute. So this one's not bad. I think this was if you're going to use it for that intended purpose, I think it's great. This one, which is a double, people like this for two reasons. One is because they say it lights cigars better, and the other is you can hold stuff over it and use it as a heater. I don't like this design because where you're going to put your cigar or cigarette or whatnot, it's not going to do it evenly. That's why I actually prefer these. This is sort of an older model. It's one of those windproof ones that you can find. These jets are angled inwards, so you get, it's being a little funny tonight, but they angle in so that you can adjust it where you want it to burn. And when it's nice and warm, it's cold down here at the moment, when it's nice and warm, has enough fuel, you can choose. Wow, look at that. This thing has been completely reliable. It must be. I did put some old Ronson fuel in it, so. But you can just see the difference between those. Now, this one is a little weird. When it's working correctly, it doesn't actually really like this one. I'm surprised it's not working for today. But this one, again, it's the same thing. It works like this. The difference is they're not angled. To fill any of these three, you take your own can of Zippo or what have you. You flip this upside down, do it on this one, and you press it in here and you hold it. When the first time you do this, you have to purge. And so you typically, when you're filling this for the first time, you press it down for 30 seconds roughly at a time. A lot of people will say 30 seconds to a minute. These are full of air when you get them, naturally. Butane is heavier than air. Butane sinks. So you do it upside down, so that the butane goes in and the butane will eventually settle to the bottom and air will come up to the top. You let it sit after filling it for the first time or so for about 20 seconds for it to stabilize. And you take a pen and you press on this to let the air out initially, and then eventually, as you do this, you will get the air will stop and you'll get butane out, and you'll know it's butane when it comes out because it'll evaporate very quickly. You'll see it. You'll do this process probably 3 times to get the air out, and then just again you stick it on here, hold it down, press and hold it, let it fill up, and you'll do that a couple times. Typically about 3 is enough, and then you set it up like this, and then you let the butane sink to the bottom and the air up to the top, and then when you press the button, you will eventually get the air and it'll purge whatever's remaining out through the top. If you get these and it's cold out, like winter, you're gonna have to let all of these butane ones warm up in order for you to use them. Now the last one, which I think is actually a really good buy, it's like an old Bic, or sort of like a clipper. This is a flint wheel, and it's a yellow flame. Unlike a clipper, which you hold down, the flame shoots out. This one doesn't. This is sort of like your old style Bic. The flint in here is replaceable. Not the flint wheel it looks like, but certainly the flint is, and that's this. So this is just like these. It's just a smaller one than that, and you just unscrew it and out comes the flint. So this I actually think is a really nice, it doesn't use a whole lot. Out of the 3 of these, it uses the least amount of propane. I have had no problems whatsoever. Didn't have to take this one apart either, because it's not a jet flame. Works great, so I recommend that one. And I think that's it. Hopefully this was useful. See ya.